to the goofball army out there. Hi at the families. Tell them to get to the next room. Tell them to go to your neighbors because we got goofball news to go over, and it might get crazy.
Typically does, guys. If it's your first episode ever, you got like 30 seconds before we start, so not enough time to go to the bathroom, but go get a drink because trust me, you're probably going to need it there. In the meantime, the rest, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. That way you know about future episodes as well, guys. Buckle your seatbelts if you haven't already. Make sure your tray is in the upright position here, guys, because we are just about ready to get going. And like, whew.
Guys, if you want a crazy ride going forward, a bunch of nonsense, but all nothing but the truth about the Giants, listen in, buckle in, tell a friend.
Let's go.
And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew. Not today to be joined here by Rob, who's actually got no power right now from that lovely snowstorm y'all got. So before we get started, hope everybody's safe and doing well with that 2+ feet of snow dropped all throughout the state of New Jersey, and obviously I know it affected New York and other areas as well there. But woof, that's something I haven't thought about in quite a while here, living in the Florida now. So we only kind of snow we get is the salt in our glasses there. That's about it there. Well, plus parts of Miami get different kinds of snow, but that's a whole separate topic for another day, guys. So listen, guys, we got the start of the scouting combine here for rookies starting here going on this week. We got some new hires to go over with the New York Giants as well. So we still got plenty of stuff to go over with you guys. As always, the season never ends there. All right, so first off, we're going to go over the latest hire that I got to say I'm probably more excited about than most people are. But I think this is an underrated hire by the New York Giants to get here, and that's Sam Rosengarten, who's been listed as the director of high performance. Pretty much a new term for Giants fans, right? We haven't had high performance. It feels like how long, but a director of high performance. So definitely an odd title to have there. But listen, this guy is he's a board certified physical therapist. He's a certified strength and conditioning specialist. He was a sports physiotherapist in both Australia and the UK, and he did the same role also in Baltimore as well. But what this is and why I'm excited about this is a modernizing of the Giants and how they treat players. And I don't mean like, giving their families, good rides to the games and all that. I mean, like how they're treating them medically. And listen, the Giants have been one of the major issues. And let's be honest, there's been plenty of issues, but one of the major issues for the New York Giants over the last, 10 years or so has been the slew of injuries left and right. And the fact that there seems to be issues with the Giants players and trust even with the medical staff. Again, Ronnie Barnes has been with us now for, almost 50 years. And, you hear a lot of the people that used to play for the Giants speak very glowingly of him. But you also hear issues lately. Evan Neal had a foot issue that was misdiagnosed and wasn't treated correctly. Again, that's not to say Evan Neal was a great player, but I'm saying I don't like hearing that as a Giants fan. Then you go ahead and you see guys like last year, Andrew Thomas was like, I'll come back when I'm ready. I'll tell you when I'm ready. Like, just didn't seem to trust the Giants to be the one to determine when he was ready. That's an issue. So obviously Ronnie Barnes, his role has changed within the Giants now. So you bring in now Sam Rosengarten. Now, the Giants in their release, what they're saying he's going to do is they're saying basically the same role what he did with Baltimore, where he oversaw player monitoring systems, training load management, recovery protocols, and performance analytics. So they're saying he used real-time biometric monitoring during practice, advanced player monitoring protocols, and injury prevention strategies. Again, boring stuff. I'm going to tell you guys point blank. This isn't the stuff that be like, ooh, pumped up. Like this here, though, is one of those things that could be bigger than any signing we get this offseason. Absolutely. Could be better than any signing in the offseason, because in the end, we got to fix this issue with the injuries. We got to fix the lack of trust the players seem to have within, the training staff. And this is pretty much a pretty big step of doing that there. So now, along with working with the Giants, he also has now and the Ravens as well. Prior to that, he's also consulted with the Knicks, the Thunder, and England's Lawn Tennis Association, along with others as well. Got 17 total years of experience there. And listen, I'll tell you point blank, if you listen to what's going on there with the press release from the Giants, it's a lot of fancy terms. Real-time biometrics monitoring and all. That's just a fancy way of saying they're hooking something up to check how they're doing, basically, how they're monitoring everything. It's about heartbeat, respiration, all that kind of fun stuff while they're practicing. I can't tell you guys if that's what the Giants have been doing. I'm not going to BS you and tell you otherwise. I am going to tell you, though, that we needed a change. And that change is pretty obvious. And there's a change right there for you guys, as we got a whole new director of high performance now with the New York Giants. Now, we also got 5 analysts the Giants have hired as well. Now, analysts are usually very low-level coaches there, but we try to give you guys everything going on with the Giants here. So the first one is probably the most exciting of the names here because of who his dad is. A little Nepo-ish, but Skylar Morningwig. Now, he's the son of Marty Morningwig, who, of course, you all know he coached for the Eagles for many years there, but also was a head coach for the Lions for a little while and all. Coach football, NFL, NCAA there anywhere from 85 to 2020. That's 35 years of coaching. That's pretty damn impressive. His son, Skylar, was a analyst from Colorado last year. Deion Sanders was an OC over at Midwestern State University prior to that. Before that, he was a graduate assistant over Ohio State, mostly worked with the running backs, so a lot of offensive work there. He was actually a former quarterback over at Florida and Columbia as well, and that's where I had heard the name before. I didn't know his coaching part there prior to this, but I remember him back when he was a quarterback for Florida there. So, again, obviously grew up with a great football mind in his home. There's something about coaching trees and families that seems to work there. So, and obviously, the big thing we're concerned about is what is his coaching staff going to do with, developing Jackson Dart at that point. So you're getting a guy in here whose dad was an offensive coach for many, many years, and he himself a former quarterback. Can't hurt. Can't hurt at all. So I like that hire. Taylor Colst also hired. Former graduate assistant at Kentucky. Last year, he was the offensive coordinator at University of Mary. Also was a former wide receiver at Whitworth University as well. So then you got Patrick Moynihan, who was the defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach at Utah Tech last year. Was also the former defensive coordinator over at St. Lawrence University. Spent a year as a defensive assistant over at Boise State. Spent a lot of time over at Stanford, and you got to wonder if there's a connection there to whether or not the Harbaugh family knew about him from his time there. But he was the assistant defensive line coach for Stanford from 17 all the way up to 22 there. Played linebacker over at Davidson in his playing days there. Actually still holds their record for that school for most tackles in a game, as well as most tackles for a season as well. We also got Kyrell Michael, who is a player personnel assistant for the Raiders since 2023. He was part of the Noon Wooten Scouting Fellowship program the NFL does as well. One last we got is Bonner Bordellin, who is a specialist coach and assistant special teams coordinator over at University of Texas, San Antonio, UTSA last year. Was a special teams analyst at TCU for a couple years prior to that, and was also a special team coordinator and defensive assistant over at Utah State there, Utah Tech, and then also spent a year prior to that back over at TCU again, personnel and operations assistant, and started off as a offensive analyst for SMU. So, like I said, kind of the bottom of the roster there of coaches, so to speak. These are the early guys that are starting out. But again, we cover everything for you guys the best we can there. So, now we got a couple more things to go over with you guys. To be honest, this is going to be probably a shorter episode than usual. Not a lot going on right now as the NFL is in Indy right now for the NFL scouting combine there. So we'll get into a little bit of the free agency rumors here before we do head on out there. So again, we will be back with our regular programming here Wednesday, Thursday. Again, I saw Jay in here. I see Clinton here. Again, Rob is out today. He's got no power because of that lovely snowstorm. As he said, I don't know, what is it you're talking about? Listening, we're talking about coaches, God damn it. He's messing with me as always. But listen, guys, as always, we got to remind you that you can also, of course, support the show over at buymeacoffee.com, where you can do one-time payments along with monthly support as well. We also, of course, have the Two Giant Goopball shop at Two Giant Goopballs. That's shop.fourthwall.com, where we got all kinds of shirts, pins, towels, cups, mugs, and of course, we still have the special going on right now that if you do spend $100 or more, you got free shipping as well. And of course, the easy, free way to go ahead and support the show, guys. The big thing I'm going to keep asking you guys lately is I'm noticing a big difference in what happens to the numbers with it. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up over there in YouTube land. And if you're not in YouTube land, just go over to YouTube land real quick and hit that thumbs up. Makes a big difference there on YouTube pushing this out there. So we got a couple of things to go over with you guys as far as free agency as well today. So one big news thing that did came out that it's Adam Schefter released it, even though it hasn't been announced formally by the I saw Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport listed it. So even though that's been formally announced by the Falcons yet, Kyle Pitts is expected to go ahead and get a franchise tag from the Falcons. He's had some people talk to him with the potential of the Giants going over to be interested in getting another tight end there because of the fact, listen, we know Wan'Dale Robinson. We don't know what's going to happen there. Don't exactly have a lot of weapons. Theo Johnson, obviously not the most dependable with his hands. So, yeah, we are seeing that's what's going to happen. It looks like now that could be a way to get some trade value for him. And there's a rumor that's what's going on. But we do know for sure that Kyle Pitts is going to be tagged by the Falcons there. Quite frankly, if you got to give anything up for him, I'm good. I'm not as big a fan of Pitts as a lot of people are. He's the best receiving tight end on the free agents market, that's for sure. But he doesn't block. Not a complete player. So I'm good there. We also got to go over with you guys a couple of potential free agent candidates that Art Stapleton gave a whole list. And he gave a list on his one of his articles there for the NJ.com, and they gave 15, 20 different players there. All of them pretty much were guys that we already listed for you guys last week. There was two that did not come up in our list there, so I wanted to give you guys that real quick here. The two are linebacker Quincy Williams, who's just 29 years old, spent last year with the Jets, 13 games, 83 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 5 QB hits, and 7 passes deflected. Again, guys, I do think we're going to go pick up a linebacker. I think we're going to get a lot of new linebackers in general in this place here. I mean, you're going to look at the fact that Bobby Okereke is likely a cut candidate. I know a lot of people are anti that, but we need money, and cutting him saves a lot of money. And again, I still think he's a stack compiler. You can go ahead and get 1 or 2 players even for him. So, it's not that difficult necessarily to replace what he did, I think. I hate to say it that way, but there's plenty of guys out there that'll be cheaper in free agency. Another person that we have listed here in Art Stapleton's list is Jalen Nailor, 26 years old. Played last year with the Vikings, 29 catches, 444 yards, and 4 touchdowns. To be honest, that's a guy that I didn't think would be on the Giants' radar. I saw him on the list of free agents. He is a deep threat kind of guy. I don't think that's the guy that fits what we're looking to do. And, a guy that's going to been averaging like 16 yards a catch there. That's not what the Giants offense is going to be. Not with Jackson Dart, not with Matt Nagy calling the plays. So I'm a little shocked he's on that list. Maybe the Giants see something in him that he could do something. But to me, it's like he's a worse version of Darius Slayton. Like, do we really need that on the roster, guys? And I'm saying that as somebody who's higher on Darius Slayton than most of y'all are. But you have somebody on here. But if you look at his numbers last year, targeted 53 times, caught the ball 29. That's not very good. And again, you got a deep threat guy. That's not what we need. We need guys that are going to catch the ball short and get some yak yards, because that's what our offense has been built around for the Brian Daboll days. And that's now what the offense is going to be built around again with Matt Nagy now as the offensive coordinator. That's what he does. He throws the running backs. He throws quick routes to wide receivers. He throws the tight ends. That's what he does. So I'm like I said, again, I'm a little shocked that Jalen Nailor's on this list here. To me, he just doesn't fit the realm of what we're looking to do. I got to ask real quick, Jay, because I see you in the comment here. It says, Drew, do you have a rivalry with Tim from Online Big Blue? I'm just not sure where that's coming from. I don't have a rivalry with anybody. Am I supposed to have a rivalry? Is there something I'm unaware of? Am I in a rivalry that I'm unaware I have even? I don't even know. But no. Tim's been on the show a couple times. I've been on with him before. It's no issues that I'm aware of, at least not from my end. That's for damn sure. Let's see. He also says, when you think about it, a decent receiver is $20 million. Kyle Pitts for $10 million is a steal. If he goes for that. And that's the thing. The number he's going to get with the franchise cap, by the way, is $16 million. So obviously, they're going to go ahead and change that when they actually work out a long-term deal with him. But if he signs a franchise tag deal for $16 million, which he's going to have to do to get traded or to work out a long-term deal, basically, once that happens, why would you give up money? If your options are sign a one-year deal for $16 million or sign a long-term deal, it's going to pay you $10 million a year. You take the 16 and you move on next year and do it again. So, I don't think that's going to work out to that kind of cheap. I don't have a SPO-Track number for you. I know you love the SPO-Track numbers. I don't have a SPO-Track number here for you. But like I said, I just don't think he's going to be that cheap anymore, especially if they're got that tag on him for $16 million. He's going to get at least 13, 14 million a year probably because of that. That will raise his rate up. So again, there's plenty of other tight ends that are much cheaper that I'd rather have than him. That's for sure. JL says Pitts is kind of a bum, but he's got a ton of upside. Yeah. I mean, again, he's a good receiver. Made the comparison of him to, being more of a Darren Waller type of tight end, which is what he is. He wants to play more slot. He doesn't really want to block as much, but he's still a guy who's a good player and a good pass catcher. There's a place for him in the NFL. I just don't think he's going to be one of the greatest that you're going to see play. That's for sure in a while. He says, wait, I can say the same about Theo Johnson. You can, but Theo Johnson has the chance to be more complete than Pitts does. The difference is Pitts can catch the ball. That's what it is. Pitts can catch the ball. And for whatever reason, Theo Johnson can't seem to do it yet. So he also says, Jay says that Clinton need to become a content creator. Clinton says, one day, Clinton, do it. You need help, man. You contact us. We'll walk you through everything, man. Make it nice and simple. Let's see here. Clinton says, who will pick up Hill wide receiver? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to play. That's the big thing. Is Tyreek Hill going to be healthy enough to play? Because here's the one thing that, listen, I'm not going to say it's going to happen. I'm going to be very clear on that. But hypothetically, if the Giants need a wide receiver, you could put him on the list of potentials if he was healthy because of the fact of the Matt Nagy connection. But I think he's going to want more money than he's worth. I think that he's not going to be healthy. That's a big injury he's got to come back from, guys. That's a massive injury. And on top of that, didn't play great last year before the injury. And that's taking out all the personality issues. Listen, again, I hate to like be the trash talkers. I don't know this guy personally, obviously, but you all read the news the same thing I read. All the issues with him. I'm good. That's a player I wouldn't go anywhere near. And that's not just if as a Giants fan. That's a guy that I'm sure the NFL will not be upset when he walks away from the league. Because he's never in for good things pretty much whenever there's an issue whenever there's anything going on with him news wise outside of football. Like there's just all kinds of issues of baby mamas left and right. You got the whole him being pulled over by the Hard Rock Stadium a couple of years ago. We never even heard the full incident on that one there. Domestic incidents left and right there. I mean, it's insanity. Insanity. I guess guys have drama left and right and got 7 different children with 5 different baby mamas right now. As Jason's remembered the phone call was recording telling his wife he would murder her. I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but I believe you if you say it. And yeah, that's just crazy. Like I said, just absolutely insane all the different stuff that's going on with him. I'm good. Even if he's fully healthy, I'm good. You don't want that around a young team. That changes everything there. You put that in the locker room, it changes everything, guys. So I'm good there. Ronnie says, Caleb Downs, that's all we should be focusing on in the draft. Game changer. Let's do this. Yeah, listen, we haven't done our full scouting yet. So there's a lot of things that we still need to look at there before I'm ready to say he's the game changer. He's the guy I want at 5. He's on the list. He's on the list. Like I've told you guys in the past, and I'll stick by it. And I try to be consistent with stuff. Unless new news comes out there. I still would love to trade down and get Peter Woods from Clemson. Get a true run stopper defensive lineman like that because that's what we need more than anything else. My eyes, that's what we need. But Caleb Downs is definitely a different interesting option there. And he's one of the guys that I'm sure the Giants will be talking to during this scouting combine going on in Indy. Whoever got there officially, I know they were talking about there's like literally flights, people trying to get out of Dodge yesterday to go see the scouting combine, and there's flights canceled like crazy, like LaGuardia and JFK and Newark and all those. But the best of my knowledge, all the Giants people got there. So, but yeah, that's going to be a guy definitely to be interested in seeing. Now, we also get tomorrow, we have the first interview of Joe Shane and John Harbaugh outside of the introductory one, obviously. And there's going to be a lot more questions, I'm sure, there. I'm curious to see what happens with that one. We'll do a full breakdown of that, I'm sure, on Wednesday. But that's going to be interesting to see, especially because I think there's going to be some questions now, specifically for Joe Shane, because of the way he reacted during the press conference. If you remember that press conference, he just seemed scared, seemed like a neutered version of Joe Shane. Didn't seem like his usual self. He's usually pretty proud of himself. Whether or not that's warranted is a whole separate thing, but definitely seemed very proud of himself usually. Didn't seem like that last time we saw him. So I'm kind of curious to see that and see the questions and discussing of, how the whole, hierarchy is going on within the Giants there. I'm curious to also hear what they think of players. Obviously, that's the main reason we're there. But like I tell you guys every year, and I'll stick by it, this is the going on. Indy is the underwear Olympics. The only thing that would change my mind is seeing things going on as far as the interview. And unfortunately, we don't get access to that. But that's all I care about because, listen, I got years of film on guys to watch. I don't care what their 40 time is. I don't care what they bench press. I care about how they work and function on a football field. That's what matters. To me, the combine is one of the most overrated things ever. Now, the second most important thing I'll tell you that I do care about is the measurables, which is the weird thing. Arm length, height, the things that you unfortunately colleges lie about quite often. All of a sudden quarterbacks come into the combine and they lose like 2 inches of height. Where'd that go? Obviously, the school lied. So, like I said, we'll let you guys know any big news we see, any breaking news as far as beating 40 times and that kind of stuff there. But for the most part, we're going to focus on the public press conference there with Joe Shane and John Harbaugh there at the combine. That's the most important things there. So let's see if we get any more questions here. Again, guys, this is going to be a short one here tonight because again, there's not much news going on right now. I'm not going to be the guy to BS you guys an hour to show, and there's not much to talk about there. But keep the questions coming if you got any. Happy to answer any real quick there while we're doing our snow edition. Again, hope you guys are all safe with that there. I see Anthony with the 20 inches of snow. That sucked. Yeah. Like I said, I saw you guys with the snow pictures. That's crazy. Again, Rob's not on because he literally lost power because everything with the storm. I think he said somebody like drove a car into a pole and knocked the power out in this whole area. So let's see here. BM McGow says, I can't see Wandale being worth $20 million at a size. If we are truly trying to help Dart, it is drafting Tate at 5. I like Downs, but at 5, I don't know. So here's part of the problem. Part of the problem of that is, let's say we go your route there for a second, okay? We don't go with Wandale. Let's just say that Joe Shane and John Harbaugh agree with you for a second. We don't go ahead and get Wandale. We don't think he's worth $20 million. We don't keep him. We wait to the draft to go get, Tate. What if Tate's gone? What's the plan then? And that's what I was saying. I hate going into a draft with a big hole. And if we don't sign Wandale, that's a big hole at wide receiver. Especially with no guarantee of filling it with Tate. Again, who knows what's going to happen the first 4 picks? You have no clue. So I'm okay with you saying you don't think Wandale's worth $20 million. And quite frankly, I don't think he's going to get $26 million, $20 million. I think he's going to go ahead and get more along the lines of 16 to 18 million. And for a guy who's got almost 100 catches back-to-back seasons, I think over 90 both seasons, had 1,000 yards last year, I think he's worth it. I really do think he's worth it. I have no problem paying him. Now, would I build in protection if I'm the Giants? Of course I would. But, you got to see he's going to hit the open market. I just don't think there's going to be a huge market for a guy that is really, really tiny with T-Rex arms that you have to use in specific ways because of his size. I really don't. But like I said, I don't see that being the case here. Let's see. Hurst says Shane running scared more than Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. Yeah, he is. Like I said, that press conference, he looked really, really scared. Clint said we had ice and snow last month. Yeah. We had a little bit of flurries here actually in Tampa Bay. It was the first time since like the 70s. A little bit of flurries. I didn't see them personally, but I was probably sleeping. But let's see. Hurst says BPA. Yeah. Best player available. That's what you should always do in the draft. Best player available. But I get it. It's fun to talk targets. Like I said, I know some people like Tate. Some people, are hoping that we get Reese. Some people are hoping we go ahead and get, Downs. And like I said, my guy, and I'm probably the outlier, is the Peter Wood guy. Like I said, I just want to go ahead and stop the run. Just want to stop the run. Anthony says, got to sign Wandale and draft Downs if he is there. Yeah. I mean, I don't. The crazy thing is trying to get Downs at 5. Is it worth getting a safety like that at pick 5? That's the problem. Is this becomes a situation kind of like Saquon Barkley, guys? Like Saquon Barkley obviously was picked at number 2, much higher, but the pick was kind of ridiculed because we went ahead and got a running back at pick 2. Well, the safety at pick 5 is also kind of a reach unless he is an all-time great. That's putting a lot on a guy. You have to be an all-time great. You have to be the next Ed Reed coming into the NFL. Like that's what you really need to do at that point if you're pick number 5 overall in the draft. And part of the reason this conversation needs to be had, to be very frank with you guys, is this is not a great draft. It's not a great draft. But what I do think is going to happen, and that's why I keep on mentioning the Peter Woods thing, is I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see a run, obviously, on, I think, receivers. They got 2 receivers that can go pretty early in top 10. You got, obviously, I think we all know Mendoza is going to be the first pick overall, obviously. But there's a situation where all of a sudden the Giants are sitting there and there's pass rushers, the better pass rushers in this draft available. It's the last thing the Giants need, guys. That's the last thing the Giants need. So, like, let's say, for example, if it goes like Mendoza, Reese, Downs, Tate, you still got Bailey on there. You still got Bain on there. You still got guys that are good edge rushers. And you know what teams are always wanting? Edge rushers. Look at us last year. Last year, we went ahead and we got a guy that, quite frankly, wasn't the position need, but he was the best player available. We could trade down, I think. I really think that's going to be the way to go. Again, we'll find out. But I just think that's the way to go, personally. Let's see here. Analysts 1957 says, what type of draft capital would you look for in a round 1 trade down or a round 2 trade down? Well, it depends. It depends on where we're going down to. I have to say that part. But assuming we're not going far down there, it's going to be a matter of whatever offer you get, you have to be okay with not getting whatever player you're not going to get. That's what it is. You know, it's like you have to go, okay, would I rather have the later first round, and let's say a second round pick or a third round pick, or would I rather have blank, insert player here? That's kind of how I gauge stuff. And it's hard to do that really until you're there at 5. And I really think that's what the Giants are going to do. I think they're going to wait and sit at 5 and see what happens. You know, and I think they're going to kind of bide their time and figure out that and see what happens. Because, like I said, these pass rushers are available. I think you can move down just a few spots. You know, and you look at the draft board here. Let's see if I can do a tankathon here and say, because that's the easy way for me to pull up the draft board here. After the Giants, you got, let's ignore the Browns for a second because they're going to probably need somebody for offense. You got Washington, New Orleans, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Miami. That's the rest of the top 10. Well, if Miami just released Bradley Chubb, Cincinnati's going to lose Trey in free agency probably. You know, New Orleans needs a whole bunch of a lot of stuff there. Washington had a defense full of like 50-year-olds. So, yeah, you could easily see a scenario where somebody wants to do that. So, again, I think what kind of draft capital I'm looking for depends on where I'm going down to and who I'm going to lose in the process. So, as Hirsch says, we need a third-round pick. Again, it depends on how far we go. If we go down a couple picks and that's it, yeah, sure. Second round, third round pick, and that's it. Good to go. And you're getting back the pick you lost in the Jackson Dart one. Keep in mind, we lost the third-round pick last year in the Jackson Dart trade, which, by the way, I'm happy to give up. I'm not complaining at any stretch of the imagination. So, Anthony says no one's going to give up much for a 5th pick after all. Again, it depends on what we get. Who's on the board? Again, these pass rushers. There's going to be somebody who wants a pass rusher. I'm telling you that right now. Watch it happen. Anthony says, I have to move to the south. I can't take the snow anymore. Do it, man. Do it, man. Let's see here. Jay says, trade up for what? Safety? Nobody's that stupid. I don't think it's for the safety. It's for the pass rusher. And then he says, suggested that Anthony moves in with me. I got to, the inn is full. Sorry. Let's see here. Hirsch says, someone going to fall in the draft at the top. Yeah, listen, that does happen quite often. Does happen quite often. And you know the scary part is I could see a scenario where the Giants trade back a couple of times even, potentially. Because I do think there's going to be a scenario where somebody's going to draft a quarterback that probably shouldn't. That's just kind of what happens in the draft when there's a weak draft class, you know? So, you know, watch like a Ty Simpson go later in the, mid to late first round. That wouldn't exactly shock me, even though, again, probably shouldn't. So Giants have the potential there. Let's see here. Anthony says because of work, he'll have to move to East Coast of Florida. No, go to the West Coast. Much calmer. Much calmer. Clinton says, wish you all should get a linebacker or strong safety or free safety cornerback. Yeah, there's a whole lot of things we need. There's a whole lot of things we need, which is just absolutely crazy. Jay says, I want to move to Florida. I have a friend in Melbourne. Problem is leaving California. Once to leave, you can't come back. We can always go back, but it's nice here. Like I said, it's nice. I can't complain. I can't complain at all here. Anthony says, trade Tibbs for a third-round pick. I mean, yeah, that's what I need a minimum of. Anything less than a third-round pick, and I'm not taking the deal. I'll deal with having him for a year and maybe revisit at the trade deadline. But yeah, a day 2 pick is definitely what we're hoping for to get at a Tibbs. And again, people will want pass rushers. And he's not just an edge rusher. He's a guy who actually sets the edge and plays run defense. Be frank, he does that, but he actually rushes the passer. So see here. BMMC says we need to build the O-line. Hopefully we can push money back like the Eagles do. Now is the time with Dart on a rookie deal. I think you're going to see some line building. I really do think that. And I think the big thing is I think the Giants will be all in on Linderbaum. If Linderbaum wants to be a Giant, he will be a Giant, guys. And I think that's going to be our big addition. And in all fairness, you got a guy in Andrew Thomas who should be a Pro Bowler. I don't know why they don't ever make him a Pro Bowler, but should be a Pro Bowler. Guy's literally been like second team All-Pro before and not a Pro Bowler. How does that make any sense? But you got a guy like that on there. You got a guy like Linderbaum who's been 4 of the last 5 years. He's been a Pro Bowler. That's solid. That's a solid anchor there, guys. So, like I said, I do think that we got a good option there that to do that, and then just got to build around those two. Those are the two. Those are the big ones. So, Jason, somebody will pay a third. Edge rushers are tough to find. Yeah, and maybe it's just a matter of who has the best third, or who's willing to throw it to a second. So I do think somebody will do the potential for a second. I think is there still. I really do. Jay says everyone I know who moved from New York to Florida says they wish they did it a decade ago. Yes, well, especially if they're moving now because it's not nearly as cheap as it used to be. That's for sure. So, but it kind of is what it is there. That's for sure. So, let's see here. Hirsch says Bailey is a stud. Jay says people sleeping on Bailey. Opposite referring to David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Again, there's a couple of good pass rushers in here, and this is why I think that the Giants will have a chance to move back, get extra picks. You get another pick in the Kayvon deal. All of a sudden, his team is loaded up with draft picks. Loaded up with draft picks. And you know what? I'm going to trust this year a lot more with John Harbaugh in that draft room. That's for sure. Analyst says, would you take a tackle at 5? I'm in the trust Harbaugh stage right now. That's where I'm at. I don't know that I would want to take a tackle at 5. I'm just scared because we've done it before. Look at Evan Neal. Pick 7, obviously, I know, but pretty damn close. But I look at whatever the pick's going to be, I'm going to trust it because it's John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has my trust until otherwise. That's what it boils down to. But it wouldn't be my go-to. It wouldn't be my go-to because I think we can get one later on. I really do. Anthony says, absolutely not. I don't want to spend that high a pick on these tackles that are available. Yeah. Like I said, it's burned. We've been burned. Jay says, yeah, but no Olu and we in trouble. Yeah, well, again, depends what we bring in. Depends on what we bring in there. It depends on how much they like Marcus Bowe as well. I think it's safe to say that John Harbaugh is going to watch a lot of film along with the rest of the coaching staff there and take a look at options for tackle. And they'll go into that draft, I'm telling you right now, guys, but somebody can play tackle. Whether it's Illuminor, whether they think it's Bowe, whether they got somebody else in mind from free agency. Again, you don't go into a draft with holes. This is a Giants problem we've had lately. Harbaugh is smarter than that. You don't go into a draft with holes. So like I said, I fully expect they'll have that there. So as Hurst says, we can find a tackle later. Like I said, I agree. We did. I think last draft we did a second round pick, I want to say. I do think that's what we had there. So, um, let's see. Clinton says, "How do you feel about taking a cornerback or linebacker in the draft?" Again, that's a day 2 thing for me. That's a day 2 thing for me. The issue that we've had with corners, this is not just the Giants, it's the NFL. It's probably the second toughest position to judge in a draft, I feel like, besides tight end. Because look at how many guys are first round picks and they're just not good. Look at Eli Apples of the world. Look at Baker. We got him. Look at right now, even. Banks, has he been good? But then you go out and you get somebody like Cordell Flott in the third round. Tariq Woolen was going to be a free agent this year, was a later pick. I feel like you don't need to go first round for a corner. You go get a whole bunch, and then you just see who pans out. That's like a throw shit against the wall and see what sticks kind of mentality, I feel like, with corners. You just go and get a whole bunch and you see what happens. So let's see. Sean says the expectation of a top 5 pick is that draft pick that high becomes a gold jacket. If the Giants trade down from 5, how should they trade down within the top 10 or just outside the top 10? It depends on their target, Sean. That's again, I hate to avoid questions, but I give you the honest answers. And the honest answer is it depends on what their target is. Again, if I'm trading down, my target is Peter Woods. I think he's by far the best run stopper in this draft, and that's who I'm a big fan of getting. I want to stop the run. But in the end, they have to make the trades based on who they think is going to be there where they're going to. And if they have somebody in mind that they want to make sure he's there. So I don't have a spot that I would trade down to. Everything is based on what do I get back and where do I go and who do I miss out on. It's too many variables like that. You can't give a number, unfortunately, like that. But I think right around that 10 mark, you'll still get decent players. And that's when we've done our mocks. And again, mocks, know what's going to actually happen in real life. And help, let's be honest, when you trade down to 5, you don't know where you're going to be at. But I personally would go ahead and beat around that 10 spot probably and still think you can get a good player. But you got to get it back to make it worth that point, That's where I'm at there. Analyst says, would you extend Winston? No, his deal's not bad. He's got one more year to go. I don't unless you are worried about him leaving. I like Winston, don't get me wrong. I love him for the locker room. I love him as a mentor for Dart. But I don't necessarily see a big point in doing that unless we're getting some cap relief in the process there. So Jace's gold jacket, feeling Getty vibes. That is a Gettleman phrase, I know. Jason, we haven't drafted a corner the first round ever, like every other year it seems like. Anthony said, I don't think Winston wants to go anywhere else. He loves the New York spotlight. Damn straight. He wants to be in media. You already seen him in media, obviously, when the Giants are done and when the Browns were done last year. He wants to be in the media. He's going to stay in New York. Like I said, if you can get some cap relief, sure, but I don't think his cap number is that crazy. I'll take a look real quick at the over the cap for you guys real quick to verify that I'm right on where I think he's at. But I think it is a safe number right now. Let's see here. Let's see, over the caps thing didn't come up right, but he's got a $5 million cap hit. For a good solid veteran backup, that is easily obtainable there. I you want to save $1 million or $2 million by extending them? Sure, but $5 million, I'm good. That's not that crazy a cap hit at all for a solid backup. Ronnie says, let's get back to being the New York Football Giants' nasty defense, smash mouth running game. Well, I'll tell you, with Scatterboot getting back, if he's healthy, I do think that you're going to see definitely a little more smash mouth next year. And Greg Roman, I'm telling you, he's going to – I like that signing a lot of him. I didn't like him to be an OC. I didn't want him to be the offensive coordinator, but I like where he's at. Let him design the run game because that is Matt Nagy's worst part of him being the offensive coordinator. I like that part of that. I do think you're going to see a legit great running game out of the Giants this year here. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if we're talking draft stuff. I would not be shocked if the Giants drafted a third running back. Someone to replace Singletary, because I still think Singletary's getting cut. You can see it like $5 million or so by cutting them. I think you're going to see like a day 3 pick, which is what we've been doing. Be the third year in a row we get a day 3 pick. And so, yeah, like I said, I do think that's the route we go. Let's see. Hirsch says Peter Woods not worthy of 5, only a trade down. Yes, 100% agreed there. 5 would be way too early for Woods. Trade down, get him, and I'd be very happy. And this is think similar to 6 to 8 million. We said 5. Winston 1 year only. Hirsch, yeah. But again, if you're not getting cap relief, what's the point of extending a guy that you don't think wants to go anywhere anyway? And this was so close. Clinton Winston is a good backup quarterback. He is. As Anthony says, he's a great backup quarterback. Yeah, I'm definitely very high on Jameis Winston, that's for sure. Sean says, Harbaugh even mentioned gold jacket hopes and expectations for top 5 picks. Yes, and I'm kind of shocked people didn't jump down his throats for saying that, because that is such a Gettleman thing. Gettleman said that, ironically, we talked about the Barkley pick at 2 earlier today. That's when he mentioned that. It's a gold jacket guy. You have to fall in full bloom love with this guy, and he has to be a gold medal, gold jacket guy. Gold medal Olympics here got me thrown up for a loop. But yeah, like I said, I'm just not necessarily a fan of going with a guy at a position that's not as valued at 5, unless you have no option to trade down. You really are that set on him being the guy. If you think there's no doubt in your mind that he's going to be that guy, then sometimes you got to go for it. But it's a risk because of the position. And Caleb Downs is definitely that guy there. This was Hirsch says Downs has good bloodlines. And he definitely does. For those who are unaware, Gary Downs, his father, has played at NC State, played in the NFL for many years with the Giants, the Falcons, the Broncos. His brother is Josh Downs, the wide receiver for the Colts, who was formerly with North Carolina, obviously in his college days. His uncle is Dre Bly. Remember, we had Bly's kid actually on the team with the Giants last year. So his uncle is Dre Bly, who is obviously a 2-time Pro Bowl cornerback. So yeah, definitely got some good genes there. That's for damn sure. Let's see. Analyst says, would you re-sign McFadden or Bellinger? McFadden. And I hate to say that because I want Bellinger back, guys. I've said it before. I don't think he wants to come back, but I do want Bellinger back. I like McFadden because I think he's going to be inexpensive. I think he's going to be a solid number 2 linebacker. And I think he's going to be cheap enough that if he had to be a number 3, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like if you go in, let's say hypothetically, you go in and you get the Keepo Carrick, you sign a free agent, that's your guy, should number 1 linebacker. And later on, you get another linebacker, let's see, in free agency that competes with McFadden, or you get a guy in the draft. I don't think McFadden's going to be that expensive that you can't go, well, you can't have him as a third linebacker. You know, I don't think that would be that crazy to do at all. Anthony says Bellinger's running away as quickly as he can. I don't disagree. And Jay apparently thinks I've seen him naked. I have not, for the record. Let's see. Clinton says, what do you think about indoor football game? It's not football. It's basically flag football. That's what that is. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys all the questions there. Kept it going there for a little while, and happy to be here with you guys here. But I think that's going to call it a night for us. We'll be back again Wednesday. Again, we should have Rob back. He should hopefully have Power back by then. And we'll be going over the press conferences there with with John Harbaugh and with Joe Shane. So we'll go over those with you guys there. And of course, we'll be back again Thursday as well with an episode as well. Probably start doing our draft coverage itself soon for you guys too as well. Get that started in the meantime while we're waiting for free agency to start here the next couple of weeks there, because again, this is that lull. So we'll find stuff to talk about because we love talking draft. We love talking draft stuff. So we're definitely down for that. Real quick, Mr. Murphy says, when do you think the Giants will start making cuts? Probably not too far from now, to be honest with you. It depends on what they want to do, because if you want to go ahead and give people a full time to become a free agent, to get a spot on a team, you want to do it early. Let me see here. When's the legal tampering period for this year? Just to verify the exact date. March 9th. So March 9th is the official date that starts the free agency. And again, that's the legal tampering period where teams aren't supposed to necessarily, there's all kinds of rumors what they can and can't do at that point there. Just the agents and the teams the players can't visit team facilities or sign contracts till that period's over. But you got to cut somebody by then. So I would say the next week or two, you should see some cuts, hopefully, if everything goes as we think there. So, all right, guys, again, we'll be back for you guys for Wednesday there, talking about the combine interviews there. Of course, as always, we are live on YouTube, the preferred platform, with, of course, Twitter/X, Twitch, Facebook, and, of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And, of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. And the video replay also will be available within 24 hours of the podcast dropping on the Spotify as well. Kind of a weird roundabout way. I got to do that one there. We got one more question here from Sean before we go. He says, since some of the Giants' new coaching moves seem to hint they'll emphasize some form of a running game, what kind of running back or style running back would complement Scat and Tracy? Honestly, you got one that likes to bull rush people and one that's more of a fast guy. I would say two things would not shock me. Either get a true bruiser, a true short line yardage guy and running and goal line guy. And I think you save a lot of hits for Scatteroo that way. You also prevent Dart from taking those hits. I could see that. I could also, though, see them going with a little guy, going the complete opposite. A little guy who's more of a pass catcher and a special teams guy. Because we know they love special teams. Again, Harbaugh, obviously a former special team coordinator. Horton's one of the best special team coordinators in the entire NFL. And Matt Nagy loves to throw to running backs. We saw that in Chicago. So either one of those two, which complete polar opposites, I'll freely admit, would not shock me. But, like I said, if they go draft, it depends what's available. So Anthony says, just keep Turbo. I wish they would. They clearly don't want to play Turbo. There must be something going on in practice we're not aware of. They clearly don't want to keep him. So, all right, guys. Again, we'll see you guys Wednesday night. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, for supporting, watching, listening as always. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man! G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please.